Hello, everybody, and welcome back to day number 2 of Hearthstone Battlegrounds Lobby Legends Hallows End. My name is TJ, and I'm joined by Sottle. Sottle, how you doing?
Was that excited or pained, TJ? I couldn't. It was somewhere on that spectrum, but I wasn't.
A little bit of both.
Really sure where. Yeah, okay. That honestly, I think that sums up most people's experience of me pretty accurately. It's somewhere on that spectrum, and it varies from day to day. You never quite know which one you're going to get. But I am pumped for this day too. I think we've got an awesome-looking final lobby. I think things are going to go right down to the wire as they did yesterday, and I think we also have a little bit of unfinished business in the caster contest from yesterday as well, using our Tavern Buddy extension, which we'll get into a little bit later on. So plenty of things at stake all the way through the day, TJ.
Yeah, you are acupuncture in human form. A lot of people are scared to interact with you because they're afraid that you're going to hurt. But if someone knows how to deal with you well, you can leave feeling incredibly relieved. But if someone doesn't know how to deal with you well, you're going to be in a lot of pain at the end. So I feel like that's an apt description of who you are as a person.
Just updating my Twitter bio. Acupuncture in human form. Lovely. Okay.
There you go. Good luck updating your Twitter bio, though. I'm pretty sure everything's just locked. But here's attorney.
Oh no, I'm Kellogg's now. What happened?
Tweet that there's going to be more marshmallows in the Lucky Charms. Tournament overview. We started with 16 players. They played over 2 group stages yesterday. Now we're down to a top 8, the top 4 from each of those groups yesterday. We'll be playing today. Today we're going to feature the check format, which means that the players are going to earn points in the same format that they did yesterday, with the exception that as soon as a player reaches 20 points, they then put the lobby in check. Once a player puts the lobby in check, if they win a game of Hearthstone Battlegrounds in this tournament, they are crowned the champion. So it leads for some exciting moments towards the end, specifically when we start to get to the point where multiple people have the lobby in check. It also means that we could be done in as little as 4 games, or we could have as many as, I don't know, Sato, what was it again? 17?
14 is the biggest
14.
number that any model we found can come up with is 14, yeah. Yeah,
and to get 14, it has to be literally like one person has to get 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. The next person has to get 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 1st. And then 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 1st, 2nd. It has to be that, but for every player. Yeah, very unlikely. Usually we fall around the 6 to 8 range is about the average games that we're going to be seeing today. But I'm waiting for that 4. I'm waiting for somebody to just go, first, second, first, right?
Yeah, why not?
And just clean it up, call it a day.
I love that even in your greatest ambitions, it wouldn't be a clean sweep of first, there'd be a second thrown in there. But we do have a very exciting innovation to share with you. It's been the case for the last few Lobby Legends, but if you haven't caught any of them, if you haven't caught yesterday, we can go through this very quickly. If you look at your video player, you might just see a little button for a Twitch extension called the Tavern Buddy that you can interact with, play a bunch of fun little mini games throughout the tournament. The first of which is a straight-up fantasy draft called Fantasy Team. Very simple for finals day because we only have 1 lobby to choose from. Just pick your team of 3 players, and the better those players perform, the more points you are going to get on your fantasy team, TJ.
Yeah, pretty simple. Sato and I think you even mentioned it, but very briefly, talking fast, and sometimes it's hard for me to understand with your accent, but Sato and I we'll be playing along as well, and we'll be keeping track of our points. Not only for today, but over the course of both days, since we kept track of them yesterday, too.
Right.
You see who's going to win to be the champion forever. But moving on to the next one, we have the Puzzle Box. This is another one that will be open now, where we have 6 questions in order for you to predict some events of today's matches. You can just flip a coin, you can use your knowledge of Battlegrounds, you can do a little bit of both. And the more questions you get right, the more points you're going to earn at the end of the day. Sottle was 6 for 6 yesterday in puzzle box questions, so did quite well. I'm a little bit salty that we didn't see the Wisdom Ball win yesterday, because we got a second place and an 8th place with the Wisdom Ball.
Yep.
But I don't think it's a question today, so alas. And then we move on to Bandwagon, which happens at the beginning of every game. You have to guess the winner of that particular game based only on the first 4 turns. The catch here is that the earlier you guess, the more potential points you can earn. So if Sal and I, both say that Gongi is going to win the match, but I say it on turn 1 and Sal says on turn 4, I will win more points than Sottle, even though we both guessed the correct winner. So a little bit of risk reward going on with Bandwagon.
Yes, and we have been asked to point out as well, crucial part of this is you can change your mind as many times as you want with your bandwagon pick. And there's no inherent penalty to doing that. The only penalty that you get is that obviously if you pick one player on turn 1 and then change your mind on turn 3, your new cutoff point for the bandwagon is turn 3. So you'll be getting turn 3 points. But in terms of changing your mind, you can do that as many times as you want based on new information. Obviously, Lorinda, who will be our spectator and shot caller for the day, will be doing his best to shoot around the tavern, get as many perspectives in early as possible so you can get a good lay of the land, and so we can get a good lay of the land. So make sure to abuse that to its fullest and change your mind if you see something that you like come a new player's perspective.
That's right. And the final one is going to be Burov's Blessing. So once per game, our spectator Lorinda will pick 2 players during the shop phase to highlight. They'll both appear on the screen simultaneously, side by side. You, as a viewer, have to pick who you think's going to win the next combat, the next round of combat. If you pick correctly, you get a big chunk of points. If you pick incorrectly, you get no points. If they tie, everybody gets points. Yay! So we can hope for 6 ties today, or 7, or 8, or 4, or 14 ties today in Burov's Blessing.
Honestly, I think Burov's Blessing is the prime Battlegrounds experience. If you're looking to get as close as possible to playing Battlegrounds while spectating Battlegrounds esports, this is it. Because what you do is you go into a fight, you say that you're favored, and then if you lose, you just complain about how you got scammed and you were favored the whole time, right? And no one can prove you wrong. It's brilliant. It's perfect Battlegrounds.
That's right. And we don't show combat odds on screen during combat. So you really can just say, wow, I'm sure if you looked at the odds that I was 60-40. So I picked correctly, but
I'll be doing that every time I lose.
Yep. That's what you did yesterday. You got 4 out of 6. Oh, that's respectable. Well, you got 3 out of 5. No, sorry. 4 out of 7. Because even though we only had 6 games, we technically had a 7th bonus Burov's Blessing where the players weren't even against each other. So we can hope we get some bonus Burov's Blessing. They're not worth any points. They're just for funsies.
Just for making fun of Lorinda.
Yeah.
These points, however, are far more impactful than the stupid points that we're joking about. These are the points that are going to progress the players ever so slowly towards that check status and towards the tournament win. So you can see, as TJ laid out at the start, first, second, 7 + 7 + 6. That gets you the 20 points that you need to put the lobby in check, and then you must win a lobby to be able to do that. Crucially, all the other players around you, even if they're not in check, are still jockeying for position with the amount of points that they pick up as well, while all the check battles are going on. And that is what's going to impact this prize pool breakdown as well, because just because you don't have the lobby in check does not mean you have a sole motivation of, making sure that the player in check doesn't win the lobby. Sure, that's a good plan if your plan is to just try and win the lobby yourself, but you could also just play for a few extra points yourself and maybe win $1,000 or $2,000 extra based on that improved placing in the end. So it's a very complex format for the players to try and min-max overall, just in terms of expected value or just the glory of trying to win the tournament in general. And I think that's a constant struggle throughout the tournament.
Yeah, that's right. But obviously that huge bonus for first is going to make all the difference. So taking a look at some of the highlights from yesterday. Kurt, this just hurts. It hurts. Hurts to see the Kurts. Kurt was on my fantasy team and had a good start, but didn't end up doing well for anybody who didn't tune in yesterday. But we had some exciting games yesterday. We did have a good amount of Murloc lobbies to start off the day, but I feel like the highlight for me, Sottle, from yesterday was the solid mechanical play overall. There wasn't too many of those like flashy type boards, flashy type play styles, but sort of the tech card inclusions toward the later stages of the game, mechanical play in terms of positioning, I felt like was on point for most of the day.
I think it was, yeah. There was a couple of moments that I disagreed with fairly heavily, but they weren't straight up like mechanical misplays. They were kind of strategic decisions that I didn't necessarily like. And outside of that, I think we just had a very nice variety of builds as well. And I think in some Lobby Legends events, you know, we've kind of hit the role of getting very similar lobbies over and over again. I remember one where we just didn't have any beast lobbies for the entire tournament, for example. But I think this time the minion types have been quite varied, and that's led to quite varied games in themselves. Because I think that is a thing that top-level players are getting better at as time goes on, is looking at the minion types at the start of the game and then going, okay, here's what type of lobby this is based on that, right? And you have to adjust your playstyle accordingly to what kind of minion types are in. I think the players have been doing that very, very well throughout the tournament. You can see just the variety of minions and compositions that you're seeing in these highlights from yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, crazy. One with a Omega Buster and a Goldren on board. Insane comp. Whoa. Whoa, sick. Beast and mechs, dude.
Four balls of minions and a Baron, and no, baby, you got a stew going there.
And here, look at this one. Just two massive cleaves.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Kid was at 4 health for about 8 turns in that game to win the final game of that lobby with Jandis, completing the cooked book a little late. It had this ridiculous requirement. It was like 10 Quillbores and Pirates or something, and then was able to just narrowly stabilize and obviously make that giant board, and especially driving it home with the cooked book Jandis synergy in order to keep swapping those giant cleaves back into the shop and giving them a buff each and every turn. So, Sottle, I am ye of great faith today. I went with a straight yes ticket. I'm going all yeses, all the way down. I didn't even look at the questions. That's how much faith I have in just today.
So the ones where we differ specifically, well, TJ's bandwagon picks all finish in the top 3. That was an easy no for me. Yeah. Couple of things can influence that. Obviously, we don't know how many games we're going to have. The more games we have, the more difficult that becomes to fulfill. So you kind of need to synergize that, I would advise, with the last question. Will we play more than 6 games today? If your answer to that one is yes, I would suggest your answer to the first one should be no, because it just becomes increasingly more unlikely that TJ keeps picking winners the more and more times he has to do it. The only other one I disagreed with, will a player win with 38 health? I believe yesterday a player won with 38 health, and that's the highest health total of a game win that we had. So what you're asking there is like record-breaking numbers to win a game with. It is possible in this meta in particular, because this isn't a meta where you trade health for value, for greed that often. Quite often you can get a lobby winner who just hit a fast quest, fast completion, high tempo through the mid game, transitions to poison, wins the lobby without ever really losing, right? Like, that's a very realistic path through the game. So I do think it is possible. But again, it's the kind of question that's like, well, how many games are we going to play, right? The more games we play, the more chances there are of that happening. So I think there's a few interesting ones to dig into here. But reminder, yesterday I got every single one of these right. So if you want to just copy my answers, that might be the winning strategy.
I'm Sottle. I use logic, but I also contradict myself, because will a player win with 38 health? The more games you have today, the more likely that becomes. So if your answer to number 6 should be yes, your answer to number 4 should be yes. I'm on my soapbox. Look how big my soapbox is.
Are you done? Is there more? I'm not sure where the end of this bit is.
I'm not the one on the soapbox.
True. I mean, that is fair. Well, looking at the breakdown of our final lobby, we have a decent variation of regions here. APAC, China, and Europe all represented, 3-3-2 respectively. And I think it's a good mix. I think Sesase, Kunking were both very impressive players to me yesterday, in particular from Lobby A. And then Lobby B, we kind of described it as the dark horse lobby because there weren't too many players with an enormous amount of experience in there. And so the qualifiers out of Lobby B, Gongi, Gyoboogie, Solar, and Sliders, really the X factors coming into this one, I would say. No real read on how they'll be able to perform against some of these players who have had a much greater representation throughout Lobby Legends of the program throughout the year, and I've kind of reflected that in my fantasy team, I would say.
Yeah, we both had Shen Yu, which I think probably for the same reason. Benage, who's our Chinese correspondent for Hearthstone team, both constructed and Battlegrounds and everything in between, gave us a little breakdown. And Shen Yu, this is the second time competing, at least in the broadcast variation of Battlegrounds Lobby Legends, so made it past the 2 qualifier stages, and said that he has a go big or go home type play style.
Yeah,
we didn't get to see that showcased too much in the games yesterday, but Shen Yu kind of quietly snuck in at like third, fourth to make it through in both instances. So I'm looking to see some of that play style going into the day today, and it looks like we're in game, so don't get to talk about our fantasy picks much, but I went with Gyoboogie and Gongi because I just really liked how they played yesterday.
Fine by me. The Tavern Buddy is a great addition. It's a marvelous distraction, but I would much rather focus in on the actual action that's taking place in front of us, and the sooner we can get into this, the better. Sesase is looking at a interesting selection of picks, to say the least. This is kind of one of those situations where it's a lot of mid-tier heroes with mid-tier armor tiers as well, so it's one of those kind of pick a favorite kind of options, I would say. Jandis would be a go-to if Beasts were in specifically, but they're not, which makes it a little bit more awkward overall. Well, TJ, any turn oneers? Any turn oneers in the chat?
Brand with this start in a lobby with Murlocs present. I feel like this is an easy top 3.
Yeah, TJ and I both
turned,
locked it in on turn one.
Turn one slide.
Reminder, by the way, if we now switch POV to someone who has something even nuttier than this, you are allowed to change your mind. But for now, at least, myself and TJ are both locking in Sliders for our bandwagon pick.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the stuff. Keep filling up those battle cries.
Wait, what the heck? All the shops are the same.
Yeah, they're slightly better if you're Brand, though, if that's going to be the shop for everyone.
True. True. All right, Oliak. Aww.
Oh, the only other person that wants to see the Naga Pirate shop, and they get this garbage instead. Unlucky. I love this pick, by the way. I think Shudderwock a little bit underpicked, in my opinion, these days, but it's this specific lobby, Naga Pirate. If you can then get Quillbores in there as well, maybe slight advantage, but not super important. But having Naga and Pirate in still allows you to do some pretty broken stuff in terms of ramping, gaining levels, hitting early triples. It's not Shudder Beasts territory, that's banned for a reason, but it's still very, very powerful, and you can do some disgusting things if you hit.
Yeah. But not the best start for that, for you. And still, none of the goods for Shudderwock in this shop as well. You can do some pretty nutty stuff like late with Shadow Walk, with Murlocs, but it's not the sort of massive economy boost that you'd get if you start off with, you know, a lot of the Swabbies and Shell Collectors. So, okay, Gongi. I mean, Frozen Tavern Tipper and a Mug? I guess it's just for the Mug with 3 different minion types on board.
Yeah, Mug's really good here. In terms of, like, 2 drops that you could find when you have Divine Shield and a 2/5, like, that's 2 of premium minions to buff, right? Because obviously people are well established with the idea that stats on Divine Shields are worth more, but when you have a minion with all the stats in the health, buffing the attack of that is actually worth a ton as well. So 2/5 into 3/6 is actually a very, very big buff early on.
All right, well, we're going to get brain completion this turn for sliders. So no battle cry to go along with it, I don't think, because I still believe that it would take all 3 of these and there's not an additional battle cry in the shop. Oh, there was actually. Oh yeah, there was two Swabbies in the opening shops. So
yep.
That would have been the 3rd Swabby. Okay, wow, this is an insane opening. What was the quest that was selected? I'm sorry.
Order low to high for gain extra gold.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know the name of that quest either.
No, I don't know the name of any quest. Forget about it.
Practice makes perfect. Practice.
Was it 3 turns?
Yeah,
low to high?
so. Yep.
All right.
Reminder, this is turn 4, so last chance to hop aboard someone else's bandwagon if you do want to change your mind. I am interested, on that note, at taking a quick look at Oliek, if possible, because Oliek went 3-on-3, so the outcome of what the Tavern 3 shop here has been might be worth it for a bandwagon look, but that is pretty unimpressive, it should be said. Don't know about you, TJ. I'm staying where I am.
Yep, me too. I mean, look at... Sliders was also offered the lose or tie 3 combats as a requirement for one of the quests. I was like, he would have to hold on to literally all of his...
Every single minion.
Yeah, in order to do that. All right, well, we have Gonki with a Patient Scout. That'll be interesting to keep track of just in terms of when he decides to cash in. We haven't seen players get greedy with it at all.
No, it's been an economy minion mostly, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't seen anybody go for Patient Scout to like 5 or 6. I think we saw 1-5, but we've also seen it sold at 2 or 3 a lot. So, and 1, of course, when you, like you said, economy like cookbook.
Freeze hold, yeah. Yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah.
You could theoretically take it for a 4 and look for your Primal Fin next turn, but I think that is probably a little bit timid given the current situation that Sliders finds himself in.
Well, what would you... I wouldn't mind that, because what are you looking for on 5?
Well, the other option is to just go for the Murkai right now, right? Because potentially you could have enough to be able to do that with the economy that you have, because you do have a look. You have, I think, 1 extra coin in hand, right? You just played the discount to go to 4. Most of your minions are expendable if you do want to sell out to go for a quick 6 in a couple of turns. So I do think that's an option. But yes, that's the thing with Bran, right? Is you want to play Murloc so often, and with most characters, you're then looking to triple into a 5 to get the Bran. Bran already has the Bran. So a lot of the time you just don't, you can skip that part and just stay on 4 and run the Murlocs. But he is in a very dominant position, so it'd be interesting to see whether he tries to get even more greedy with it.
Yep. Okay, 4 Death Rattles for Ritual Dagger. Okay. Ritual Dagger and Onyxia. I suppose some synergy there, even if it does sort of fall off in later stages, because the 3 damage doesn't mean much except for just breaking off Divine.
No Harvest Golem value. SSA was just eagerly hoping that something bumped into the Harvest Golem so we could get that initial proc on the Ritual Dagger, but no such luck at this point. Very, very tempo-heavy start here from SSA, and is following that up now by just immediately going for the 4-drop. No Death Rattles being offered. There were a couple of high-value ones available, although actually, with Beasts Demons out, that's 2 of the best ones down the toilet with High Main and Matron.
Yeah, it's mechs all the way through, I feel. For SSA.
Lorinda informing us, I believe, yeah, as we're now taking a look. So the 5 was taken, and it's a 5 into a Nomi, which is a diversion that I was not expecting to see.
It's a very early Nomi. Wait, no, it was a 4 taken and then Faceless.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I didn't even notice. Yeah, Tavern.
Wait, but how did a Nomi come in hand then?
Yeah, wait, hang on. What has happened here? Because that 4 would then have to be in the shop for the Faceless to be able to turn it into a 5 and then buy it for it to be in your hand.
Double Faceless? No.
Oh, of course, it's brand face. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, brand faceless. Okay.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah, so brand faceless onto okay, well, that's why the Nomi was there, because there was only 1 5, right? So like you either buy it or you don't, and if you have a Nomi this early on, you might as well buy it, because worst case scenario, you're just down 2 gold. And this is quest completion last turn too, because of the ordering. So gonna start to have a little bit of extra economy regardless, and still not even losing with pretty much no improvements to the board for 3 full turns, nearly.
Well, I mean, so having now looked at it, like the actual 4-drop Discover was plus 12 health to his giant attack minion on the right-hand side, right?
Sure, yeah.
The brand Battlecry with that, so that is a pretty significant improvement on its own, it does need to be said.
Okay, Zhen Yu, big economy start. Look like did hit both the Shutterlings have been played. But 2 Warden of Old on the board as well, which means at least some of these coins will have come from those and not necessarily from the Battlecry. So hard to tell exactly what Battlecry value has been found here from the Shutterlings. Maybe none. Maybe Zhen Yu is just going to keep these on the board in hopes that Victim Spectre is going to give another copy and then be able to hold on to them.
I think so. It's a strategy that you can indeed go for. It does have both copies of it now on board, has the brand in hand, so he can make some magic happen for sure.
Yeah, so still risky though, because there wasn't really any taunts on the board. So those Shutterlings could end up dying much earlier in combat sequence. So we'll see if he's going to be able to have that pay off with the Shutterwalk, but kind of have to take risks at this point when you don't hit the juice as Shutterwalk, and it's not not a fantastic opening otherwise.
Oh
my goodness.
There's one way to guarantee it, TJ. Just take 15.
Oh, what?
Like, I will say, Benage is a fantastic scout. You always listen to the information you get. Benage told us this is a win-or-go-home type player that we are dealing with here, and you best believe that to be true based on that play. Damage capped himself down to 7 health, and now has Bran Golden Shuddling Primal Fin. Cold Lightseer, Golden Cold Lightseer. Probably should have played one of those first if we're being picky.
What have I become?
Okay.
Menagerie Jug on 2.
Well, yeah, but the Myrmidon is technically worth another one.
Yep, fine.
All right. Okay, so had 1 Shell Collector played before this turn. That was the only Battlecry played before this turn. That is insane. And it's not done because it's a golden Shutterling with a brand.
Correct. This is all happening again. That is
this is nuts! This is nuts!
Amount of stats, blue shell! Oh no, we're still going. Straight to 5. Yeah, I respect it.
Oh, this is so good. It's mechs here too, so we could also think about keeping this ball of minions and try and look for an oil module.
Okay, I was wondering whether the shuttling might just hang around for one more turn. Jean-Yu wants to live the dream again. Oh my goodness. Another triple. Murkai? Murkai? Oh. The eternal cycle of greed of the Battlegrounds player. You have that turn, and then you're like, oh, come on, Murkai, baby. Oh, I'm so unlucky. Didn't even hit the Murkai.
Jean-Yu had 2 shutterlings on board.
Had two cards on board at the start of this turn, yeah.
In the hand, like, you think, okay, well, holding on to a lot of extra resources. It was like a Bran, a Cold Light Seer, and...
A coin?
A coin? Yeah, and that was it. And now is at Tavern Tier 5 with this board.
On a jump.
Damage caps his next opponent.
Absolutely insane turn. Beautiful stuff. Cold Light Seer for free as well.
He almost picked up the blue shell because he was so used to losing. Okay, Annoy Module, that's fantastic for the ball of minions. And there's another ball of minions. Oh, passes it up. Okay, there's a Toxin.
Yeah, I was going to question whether the Toxfin should have gone on the ball of minions previously, because it is a mech Murloc lobby, which means you can make those perfect shielded Amalgadons essentially, but does end up getting it anyway.
Gongi just has a Nomi on board and a Recycling Wraith and just whiffed 4 rerolls in a row with Wonder Ball with no elementals.
Meanwhile, over in Bandwagon...
How does that even happen? Like, 4 rerolls, naturally, you'd hit an elemental. And then Wonder Ball, I feel like, with that many elementals on board, would give you something. Gongi,
yeah.
Damage cap is still on, so Gongi's still safe for at least this turn, but that was not a good turn.
I'll confess, I haven't exactly done the maths on this, but when you're specifically looking for extra copies of minions that you have on your board, Wonder Ball absolutely increases that, right? Because you have the mirror roll, and that's just the best thing in the world when you're looking for pairs and triples. If you're just looking for additional minions of the tribe you have, I'm not necessarily sure how much Wonder Ball improves it, because so many of the special rolls, like that tech card roll that you just saw, the one where it's just the shop fills with any random minion, you know, like these aren't necessarily things that improve your chances of finding more elementals necessarily. The one where it's just a normal shop and you hit Divine Shields, that kind of thing. Like, it's debatable how much of an improvement it is. I'm sure it is an improvement, but I imagine it's a little bit overestimated how much of an improvement it is.
Ooh.
Everyone's a Nomi gamer in this
is a
lobby.
golden Nomi.
It is, yeah.
You probably used a wish for this. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Ritual Dagger?
Ritual Dagger? Yeah.
That makes sense. It's the new, I don't know what the quest is called, the new quest that you choose between two rewards each turn. That was added, I don't know, whenever that patch was, 2 weeks ago.
So now really wants to find a shielded elemental, but doesn't look like he's having too much luck in doing so. This is a mess from Oliek right now, it has to be said. This is scrambling for additional positions. Does have Smoking Gun to help him out a little bit in terms of tempo, but it's not a board that has a fantastic future right now, it has to be said.
Yeah. I mean, it's better from... We saw Oliek in the start, and it just wasn't good, right? Went 3-on-3 and didn't hit anything except the arm. So I was expecting Oliek to drop a lot faster than that, given that start, right? Because sacrificed a lot of that early health in order to try and hit something good with the 3-on-3 and just didn't. Oh, yes, a fort! Fort gaming! Blame it on the boogie.
Fort gaming in a perfect Murloc lobby is ambitious. Although, actually, mechs are in So you're not necessarily going to be always facing Murlocs. Some people will choose to go for the Murloc counter strategies instead of the Murloc, and then the Fort strat is kind of decent against that anyway. But at the same time, I would imagine, having not seen Gearboogie too much during this game, that he's just kind of played what he was dealt this game, right? I don't think this is a strategy that he's tried to force up until this point. It's just he's ended up with a golden arm, some taunts, and then tripled into a fort and gone, yeah, all right, fine, we'll go with it.
A golden selfless with a shifter Zera selfless in hand. You know how it goes.
Yeah, the normal stuff.
Yeah. Bill is going to eliminate Oliek though, so Gongi going down as well. So they're going to go out. Okay. One of each of our fantasy teams.
That's right.
Tied. I'm okay with that.
Long way to go, TJ. It's a game of two halves.
I know. Gendu's been taking some damage too since that crazy turn. Hasn't really been able to get much else going, it seems. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
What just did Gendu just manage to victim spectre an extra glow scale? How does that even happen? Glow scale is a 4/6 taunt. How? What? Huh?
Don't look at me.
Okay, fine. Like every minion his opponents had just marched straight into the ball of minions and died, and then the last one just killed the glow scale, I guess?
Well, if his last opponent was Gongi, yeah, I could see it.
True.
He doesn't want one anymore. He's putting it first.
Yeah, just going for the golden brand now. Kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so Sliders has gotten big.
Honestly, ball of minions when you're playing a cycle comp is just the best feeling in the world. Like when you're Infinite Pirates, when you're Nomi, when anything like that, Lil Rag, whenever you roll into a ball of minions, it's just the most exciting thing in the world.
Well, this is a very one-dimensional comp. This doesn't look particularly powerful, but it does have double selfless with Divine Shield Ball minions and 2 poisonous, so
yeah,
scam just about anybody.
This is low-key kind of powerful. Especially now with the biggest minion on the opponent's side of the board just crashing into the poison. I do think there are just too many stats over on this side of the board as far as I'm seeing it, though. Could get a couple of lucky whelps on some Divine Shields. That's a good start. But yeah, you can see already just way too much left to deal with. And poison into Divine Shield is not going to do the job. Next question is, are we living? And yes, we are, by quite some distance on those last few attacks.
Very low damage board. Is at Tavern Tier 4. Only be 9 damage. So that's potentially another loss. Left for say. Kun King falls
makes you strong.
On the Zephyrus. So that was the Golden Nomi. Guess wasn't able to ramp it up quickly or find enough support for it, because already in this lobby, just Giant Elementals is not good enough.
Right.
Because we're already seeing a bunch of Divine Shield poison and selfless. So not really surprised to see that. Genyu still holding on, and take a look at Gearboogie here. Yeah, still in the same weird spot. Ditch the fort.
Eliza, Tony, Scally transition, anyone? That seems to be what Shifter Xeris is telling us.
Oh, yes. Just sell everything. Find a Scally.
I mean,
if I re-rolled a shop that had a Baron and a Scally in it,
yeah, genuinely.
I would legitimately do it.
I'm 100% serious. Yeah, I think if you saw Scally Baron this turn, you absolutely do it. Just hope you don't take 18 against clearly the strongest person in the lobby, because you will probably lose that one fight.
Jenkins!
Has to give it up, though. Doesn't find the pieces he needs.
I've lost like 4 Battlegrounds games where I had like 5 Shifter Xerises in my hand. And I'm just like, those are okay, but next turn they're going to be great.
It's a similar quest to Cookbook in a way, right? Where the reason I make that comparison is they're both quests where you have to complete them and then you still have to wait, right? Like with Cooked Book, you have to wait several turns to buy minions to get it juiced up. With Shift to Xeris, you still generally have to wait for it to transform into something good. So it is a little bit of extra delay that you might get. But I did mention earlier that it felt like Sliders was probably the strongest person in the lobby overall. However, I think we have two extremely good contenders here that we are looking at in this fight.
Ooh, but it looks like Genyu might, is... oh no, it's not going to go down. Never mind. Oop. I thought that, the Deflecto not getting a reset ended up being pretty big there from the micro mummy. Yeah.
Yeah, really close fight though. Would not be surprised if that was somewhere in the 50-50 region when it all pans out. That was very, very tightly contested overall. Ola's still on 4 here with Lady Vash is interesting as well because, yes, of course, you can argue that Cookbook, you want to spend minimal gold on leveling and maximum gold on minions to be able to get that Cookbook rolling. But going to 5 gives you access to the glow scale spellcraft, which means then any minion you buy, you can just give a permanent Divine Shield to, which is certainly very enticing. But with the makeup of the lobby, mechs in, elementals in, there's probably just enough Divine Shields anyway hanging around on 4 that you can put together with Deflectos and Crackling Cyclones and whatever else. So I'm okay with it.
Okay. Oh, a Manid Queen from Shifter Xeris, I think that is. Yep.
That is indeed, yeah. Important info. The first Barrel's Blessing of the day, if you didn't see the intro, if you haven't seen one of these yet, you are simply picking the winner of the fight using the Tab and Buddy extension that you will see on Twitch.
Oh, jeez.
Are you on the guest list?
Extra poison going up everywhere. Taunted Leroy as well, something that we have seen a ton of so far.
It's a golden selfless with a Baron.
It is a golden selfless with a Baron, yeah.
And on Jubilee's side, it's a golden selfless with no Baron, but a lot more stats on the non-poisoned minions. And a Leroy, but it could hit the selfless. I don't know.
I think you can win this thing.
We both went with the same one, but I'm completely torn.
Yeah, I think this is really tight. I think it's a very good choice by Lorinda. Like you said, the extra Divine Shields, but
that's big.
Minimal poison minions and just the lack of stats that are available. And yeah, since that Divine Shield poison did not interact with the big health minions on the right-hand side of the board, I think SSA is now in a little spot of bother. Yeah, that is now a huge problem.
Good work, Saddle.
High five, TJ.
High five, 1 for 1.
Yeah, not sure what the odds actually would have been on that fight. SSA survives, lives to fight another day, by the way, but it was all about the poison Divine Shields going right into the big health taunts. That's what would have been the win for SSA, but the poison Divine Shield attacks went left into the Mantids, Leroys, the lower health minions on the left-hand side, and that became a huge problem.
Yep. All right. Sliders has ditched the Nomi, now trying to transition into the late game where stats are going to start to become a little bit more irrelevant when you're looking at a Mex plus Murloc lobby where you can have the poison ball minions with Divine Shield.
Oh, yeah.
Leroy start to make it in. Still like infinite money because of the quest reward, because of the recycling wraith. Pretty crazy. Okay, golden crackling cyclone, that's pretty large. And it's going to be going up against Zhen Yu, which we haven't seen in a little bit, but probably still on the Murlocs, was the first player to kind of commit to just your Murlocs.
Oh, yeah.
And, yep, full poison. And, okay, Tunnel Blaster. This is good. Going to remove Divine Shields while also then reapplying Divine Shields to his own minions once the Baron Selfless goes off after the Tunnel Blaster kills it.
It's also 9 damage to everything, which is incredibly impactful when you look at how poison scammy this board is on the other side. There are no stats hanging around there at all. That swept up an entire poison minion. Would have taken down that first Leroy as well, but the Leroy ended up going first and attacking in. So looking pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, that attack was big. It actually would have been, I think Zhenyu still would have won.
It wins by 1 attack, I think, if the Selfless went off first, yeah.
Yeah, if this, yeah. Because it was 3 Murlocs, two with Divine Shield versus 2 Murlocs, Poison Murlocs with Divine Shield. So yeah, it would have been 1 attack off. It would have been 5 versus 4.
Yep.
So, still would have won.
We are down to top 2, and I think most people, you don't have to be an expert Battlegrounds analyst to have seen where this game was going. Sliders versus Zhenyu in the top 2. Zhenyu's pop-off came a little bit later, but I think we all saw, I imagine there is a lot of bandwagon choices on Sliders right now, including myself and TJ. Zhenyu having that insane Victim Spectre play, though, sold his entire board apart from the 2 Shuttlings, picked up the Victim Spectre triple, then bought every Battlecry he saw for the next turn, and had an absurd pop-off to get him into this position.
Yeah. Ben is just a genius.
Oh,
that is the ultimate go big or go home. Sell your entire board and tavern up just to make sure that your shuttlings are isolated for Victim Spectre.
Gosh. I've done similar things in the past where you take an early triple into a 6-drop with Victim Spectre, like a Theatar, for example, and then you sell your whole board and just leave the Theatar on board, so you then have double Theatar going into the next turn, right? Never have I done it leaving myself on 7 health, and never have I done it in a position where you then have to have this insane APM turn the next turn as well. So yeah, Zhenyu, incredible play to get into this position, but now we are seeing the 2 bullies of the lobby going up against each other, and you have to favor Sliders, even if not individually in this fight. He only has to win, scam, do whatever he needs once to take this lobby down from here.
That's such I don't know, poor positioning or unfortunate positioning for Zhenyu, but Ball of Minions is the only taunt. So
it's gone.
If there's a Leroy that's opening, then Leroy just completely hard counters almost your entire board. It feels at that point. I don't think you can rely at this stage on just specifically the Golden Baron plus non-golden Selfless. But there we go. Sliders won. Salo and I banking some points for the bandwagon pick, and hopefully many of you out there as well, given that brand opening in a lobby very conducive to brand success in terms of minion types. So yeah, overall pretty cool game 1. Obviously, you know, we started off yesterday with a bunch of Murloc lobbies, and I was hoping we were going to get some different today, but we got some really cool moments out of that game at the very least.
Yeah, if you're ending up at Murlocs, I'm happy if you got there via selling your whole board and tripling a shuttling with Victim Spectre, you know? Like, if you're going to end up playing Murlocs, at least play it like that. And Sliders on the other side, like, this is not a Murloc board. It's not even a board of something else which is then transitioned into Poison Scam, which you quite often see, right? There's the Poison Ball of Minions and there's a Leroy. Outside of that, it's Nomi stats and stats that have been dumped onto other minions from giant Ball of Minions that have come off the Nomi, come from the Nomi buffs. So, you know, Sliders, you know, blowing past the Murloc lobby with just straight up stats. Really, really good stuff in game number 1. Zhenyu, incredibly impressive performance, taking down the second. And then a 4.5 for both Sesase and Gyobugi, who I believe that's one of each of our fantasy picks, again, after having one of each of our fantasy picks tying in 7th, 8th as well.
And Zhenyu is the other one, which we both share. So we're completely tied.
We are completely tied, yes.
Uh-oh, we're tied in everything. We had the same Barov's Blessing. We had the same bandwagon pick on the same turn.
And with my narrow lead from yesterday, this is a situation I'm entirely fine with.
Ooh, okay. Well, what about I don't think we had any puzzle box picks because a lot of them require either the full day today.
Yeah, the 2 that we disagree on both require the end of day before we get the answer to them.
Yeah. All right. Still a lot of pressure on But nice first game to kick things off. And Sliders, you know, obviously it takes a lot to know how to transition into a late game, even when you have a good early game. But he was just slam-picked Brand and then was just handed, here you go, the keys to the castle. Don't lose them.
Double shell collector swappy? Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, fine. I guess I'll take it.
Yeah. Zhenyu worked very hard to get that second place. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that. That was the highlight of the weekend so far for me, I think, was that specific turn. But we got plenty more left to go today. That was only the first game. We have at least 3 more to go, probably much more than that. So we're just getting started. Before we jump into game 2, we are going to have to go to a break. So don't go anywhere. More Lobby Legends right after this.